Hello and welcome to Formula Phil. Hello, good friends. How are ye? I just want to start today with a big thank you from the bottom of my heart from the people watching, the people liking, and the people subscribing. Thank you very much. So anyway, straight into the hoo-ha of what's next. And those watching the F1's Forgotten Heroes series may have heard this man's name mentioned a good few times. And he's often portrayed or thought as the pantomime villain, whose treachery may have led to the death of Gilles Villeneuve, which I think is a bit harsh. But let's take a closer look at the complex, often political character of Didier Pironi. Now, the life of Didier Pironi will divide opinions, but one thing all would agree on, and pardon the pun, is that he was an immensely driven individual. One of Pironi's teammates and friend, Jacques Lafitte, said that Didier pushed himself harder than anyone that he had ever seen. It is thought that perhaps Pironi didn't have the raw talent that other drivers were gifted, but he made up for it by just working relentlessly hard at his craft. With his immense intensity and his awesome sheer will to win, it looked like the 1982 championship that he was heading towards would be his first of many. But before that came to be, it all went wrong. And I'm sure some people would believe that the laws of karma caught up to him. And with a horrific shunt, it ended his driving career in F1. But then 5 years later, with his ambition redirected, it also ended his life in an ill-fated powerboat race. But before that tragic end, where actually 2 other people lost their lives, he was a pretty damn successful Formula 1 driver. He got his big F1 break with Tyrrell, and then he moved on to Ligier. And he must have impressed with both of those teams, because kind of out of nowhere, Pironi had signed a 2-year deal with Ferrari. This was truly stepping into the lion's den, not only because of the usual Ferrari pressures, but because of their number 1 driver was the great Gilles Villeneuve. Off the circuit, the two got on famously, though I've read they often played these kind of mad games. One that they played on the Autostrada around Maranello, for instance, saw them driving flat out for as long as possible, while the other had to sit impassive in the passenger seat, regardless of looming trucks and hard shoulder passing maneuvers. The first one to brake and go, "Oh Jesus, stop," would lose the game. And apparently this went on for weeks before Enzo Ferrari stepped in and said, "Lads, cop on." Though Villeneuve liked his new playmate, his wife Joan was not so sure, wondering if Pironi might have a hidden agenda. Certainly, he was going out of his way to forge close alliances within the Ferrari team, even away from the track. Pironi going as far as asking Piscini, the director of Ferrari, to be best man at his wedding and even godfather to his children. Pironi was a political animal. And I'm directly quoting Pironi here when he commented, "I'm deeply interested in politics. It's not particularly a noble area of life, but it's the only thing that makes things actually happen, in motorsport as in anywhere else." It all passed Gilles by, until of course that infamous afternoon at Imola in 1982. Basically, Gilles was in the lead, and Pironi was behind, and Ferrari were miles ahead, and the pit lane showed the sign saying "hold positions," and Gilles assumed that his victory was safe. Pironi perhaps saw a shortcut to his goal, but the price tag was his integrity. Didier waited for the very last lap, and he stole the win for perhaps the naive Gilles Villeneuve, who wasn't even defending. The incident triggered an anger in Villeneuve that was to prove fatal. Villeneuve came to believe that his wife was right all along, that Pironi was not to be trusted. And in fact, they say Gilles' last days were tormented because he had a feeling that he was being tricked, and he also was paranoid that Pironi was trying to take control of the Ferrari team. Though I do think it's a bit of a stretch to blame Pironi for Villeneuve's fatal accident. There were many factors involved. In fact, Pironi was one of the first on the scene of Villeneuve's Zolder accident, and he was led away distraught. The reaction from the Formula 1 paddock and fans was brutal towards Pironi. And also, I heard that a few days later he was told that he was not welcome at Villeneuve's funeral. At this time, his personal life was falling to bits as well. He had recently just got married to his longtime girlfriend, but within weeks of the marriage he left her as he fell in love with someone else. Then at Montreal, just 3 weeks after the Villeneuve incident, Riccardo Paletti was killed after ploughing into the back of Pironi's stationary car, which he had stalled at the lights. We did another video on that in the F1's Forgotten Heroes. The press were particularly brutal to Pironi, but ever the sheer work ethic man, he just threw himself into the Formula One driving. And now, with Villeneuve out of the picture, he began to dominate Formula One. Though in the paddock he cut a kind of a loner figure, and Professor Sidney Watkins said he didn't seem to be a very happy soul. But it was at the Hockenheim ring where it all came to a head. It was in an untimed session. Therefore, there is no actual footage of the accident, only the aftermath. And kind of eerily, it's very similar to the way Gilles Villeneuve was killed. Pironi piled into the back of Prost's slow-moving Renault, and when Pironi hit it at full speed, it launched him high in the air before crashing down nose first. The feet and leg injuries he sustained at this moment ensured that his driving career was over. At the time, Professor Sidney Watkins is credited to saving his feet. In fact, he had 33 operations to be able to walk again. And in fact, Didier dallied with the idea of coming back to Formula One. But I believe the insurance company that paid for all those operations would demand their money reimbursed if he came back to the sport. Though he had a secret test with his old team Ligier, sadly he was well off the pace. And with that, he turned his mind to powerboating. He had somehow blagged his way with elf backing to the Premier League of powerboating, and he was known to be extremely fast, but also pretty reckless. And he was caught out in August 1987 near the Isle of Wight. Pironi and 2 of his crewmen drowned in a high-speed rollover accident. But get this, I read that he left a garage full of pictures of himself and Villeneuve together. And he also left his girlfriend, Catherine, pregnant with twin boys. And they are called Didier and Gilles. And I kind of hope that I didn't paint Didier Pironi in a really bad light. As I said, in that pantomime villain that he's kind of always known as. I just want to kind of get a feel that he was an extremely complex and driven individual. And it's amazing what the will to win can make men do. And that's it. That's all we have time for today. I'll be following it up with another F1's Forgotten Heroes and perhaps another classic story of speed and tails. Anyway, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you so much. And I will talk to ye all soon. Oh yeah, I forgot to do it. Good luck. Oh, that's bad luck.